Hi, this is Vijay Bhambwani, and I'm back again with you to talk about the Saudi Aramco IPO. Apurva Sheth talked to you about Saudi Aramco IPO, and he promised you I would take up the matter further. And here is what we know as of now while I record this video for you on Friday evening. What we do know is that the IPO size itself has been pruned from the rumored $200 to $250 billion in 2017 to $100 billion in 2018, and finally now approximately $25 billion as we speak. It could be a little bit more or less depending on the green shoe option and the pricing of the shares. What we do know is that Prince Mohammed bin Salman is basically trying to create a record of beating Alibaba's mega IPO of $25 billion, which as of now is the world's biggest IPO. But there are a couple of things which are basically jarring in my mind, and unfortunately I'm not seeing the mainstream media pick up these issues, which I think should have been raised. From an investor's point of view, I have a few doubts as to what is really happening. The fact that the Wall Street investment bankers' merchant banking fees have been cut down drastically is a given because the IPO size itself has been pruned down. The fact is that there are media reports out there from very credible media houses that the Saudis are now refusing to share the details of the subscription amounts received from the Saudi nationals with the investment bankers. That's not going to go down well with the investment bankers. It has ramifications or potential ramifications on the post-IPO matters as we speak. Does it mean that the share price will open slightly below the IPO price because the investment bankers are not happy? Or does it mean that crude oil prices themselves will go down post the IPO, which will again cause some kind of a drag on the share price? I have some doubts. The other aspect that I need to raise and bring to your notice is that the very purpose of the IPO was to facilitate this mega city in the northeastern desert of Saudi Arabia. This was a part of the Grand Vision 2030 of Prince Mohammed bin Salman. The artificial man-made city in the northeastern desert was supposed to be a tourist paradise with Disneyland kind of amusement parks, the works. From what I gather, the cost is going to be upwards of $250 billion. So a $25 billion IPO does not really help much. Last year, the Germans had expressed their discontent and pulled out of the funding of the northeastern desert city. So you're going to clearly have funding problems. The other and the bigger issue that I have with what's happening right now as we speak on Friday evening is that the Saudis in the last 3 years, from late 2016 onwards, in anticipation of the Aramco IPO, mopped up funds from the bond markets. This hasn't really been very large sums of money, but the bonds have been issued in multiple tranches. So if you're going to collect $25 billion from the IPO and some of these bonds are due for a redemption, the money is likely to go from the IPO into repayment of the bonds. It's not going to cover everything, neither the artificial man-made city, nor is it going to completely cover the bonds. So, which again leads me to another doubt. Is this just like a trial balloon which is being sent up in the IPO market with the possibility of a follow-on public offer or a rights issue? Seems likely because the Saudis are going to need a lot more money than just $25 billion. Another aspect, if you remember in 2017, the Chinese had given an open offer to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia that they would actually avoid Aramco's IPO by taking a private placement of up to 5 to 10% of the paid up equity capital of Aramco. Is it possible that the Saudis are just coming out with a trial balloon of a $25 billion ticket size IPO and then doing a private placement with the Chinese? Hey, I don't know, anything can happen. But right now, what we do know is that the Saudis are not really sharing too many details with their Wall Street investment bankers. And the amount, like I told you, $25 billion is not solving any matters whatsoever. Which leaves more than 4 question marks in my mind. Is there a follow-on public offer coming? Is there a private placement with the Chinese? Are the Wall Street investment bankers going to basically get sort of disincentivized from the fact that they are not getting any information about the IPO proceeds and therefore have a hands-off approach post-listing on the Tadawul Stock Exchange? There are too many of these imponderables and variables to actually look at. And the fact that the Saudi Kingdom is offering special incentives to Saudi nationals who apply for the IPO and do not sell for 6 months after listing only raises a few more doubts. Why are they disincentivizing investors from selling after the IPO is listed? These are questions that every investor or trader in commodities market, particularly crude oil traders, should be asking themselves. As we speak on Friday, crude oil prices have risen for the last 2-3 days. But the rallies have been a far cry from what I was expecting in the run-up to the IPO. I'm expecting listing by December of 2019. I'm keeping my fingers crossed as to what's really going to happen after the IPO. From what I see as of now, details aren't really very easy to get. And that is raising one more question mark. Please do click on the subscribe button and provide your feedback in the comments column. Till I see you again, goodbye from me.